welcome. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. It's a nice warm Tuesday evening here, April 6, 2021, and tonight we have updates from several of our correspondents across North America. Thomas Likeness in Edmonton, Alberta.
Canada and the United States, a contrast in the status of the pandemic.
Jessica Isidro in Austin, Texas.
Autism Society of America recognizes Autism Acceptance Month with Celebrate Differences campaign.
Julianne Simbulan in Lancaster, California.
Blue Shield, LA Care partner with USC Pharmacy to operate 16 COVID-19 vaccination clinics.
Then Angel Membrere in Sacramento reports about Vice President Kamala Harris' visit to California and Governor Newsom's announcement that California is on track to reopen June 15th. Carla Valdez in Union Township reports about New Jersey Transit beginning testing of dual-power locomotives. Then for EBC Sports, we'll head to E.J. Gonzalez in Alexandria, Virginia.
Washington Nationals finally hold their season opener after COVID outbreak.
Plus, for tonight's roundtable, April 7 is National No Housework Day. What would you do, or where would you like to be if you had no chores to attend to for just one day? Our coverage begins now. The IMF's top economist on Tuesday said the fund has long supported a global minimum corporate tax after U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen called on G20 countries to adopt one.
It is a big concern that we have a large amount of tax shifting, tax avoidance, countries sending money to tax havens, and that's reducing the tax base from which governments can collect revenues and do the necessary social and economic spending that's required. So we are very much in favor of a global minimum corporate tax.
Speaking at the start of the spring meetings of the IMF and World Bank, Gopinath warned of a large amount of tax avoidance and also countries sending money to tax havens. She said government spending will still be needed to ensure countries recover from the damage inflicted from the COVID-19 pandemic. Finance ministers from the Group of 20 advanced nations are due to meet on Wednesday, and Yellen on Monday said she is working with the group to reach an agreement to end what she called the race to the bottom on taxation. President Joe Biden announced plans to increase corporate taxes to finance a massive $2 trillion infrastructure and jobs program, paid for by hiking the U.S. corporate tax rate to 28% and the minimum rate for multinationals to 21%. Biden expressed outrage at multinationals like e-commerce giant Amazon, who have moved to tax havens or used loopholes to pay little to no tax, and he said he would put a stop to the practice. In other news, as talks aimed at salvaging an international agreement on Iran's nuclear program kick off in Vienna, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says a diplomatic path is the way to go forward.
And we, continue to believe that a diplomatic path is the right path forward, and there are benefits to all sides. When the Trump administration pulled out of the joint plan of action, what they left us with is a far decreased visibility of Iran's nuclear capability, of inspections at their sites, of an understanding of how close they were to acquiring a nuclear weapon. That's not in anyone's interest, certainly not the American people.
During her daily briefing, Psaki also comments on Georgia's new voting rights law, saying the legislation is, quote, built on a lie, and warning of a pattern across the country to limit voter access.
The Georgia legislation is built on a lie. There was no widespread fraud in the 2020 election. Georgia's top Republican election officials have acknowledged that repeatedly in interviews. And what there was, however, was record-setting turnout, especially by voters of color. So instead, what we're seeing here is for politicians who didn't like the outcome, they're not changing their policies to win more votes. They're changing the rules to exclude more voters. According to the Brennan Center, As of March 24th, 361 bills with restrictive provisions have been introduced in 47 states around the country. So this is not just Georgia. This is something we are seeing a prevalence of this, a pattern around the country of, an effort to make it more difficult to vote.
Meanwhile, the United States said Tuesday that initial talks by its partners in Vienna on Iran were constructive, as President Joe Biden looks for ways to rejoin a 2015 nuclear deal.
So yes, we do see this as a constructive and certainly welcome step. And in the end, we hope that we are able to leave Vienna, return to the United States, our negotiating team, I should say, with a better understanding of a roadmap for how we get to that end state. Mutual compliance, Iranian compliance with the deal, and how the United States might also resume its compliance with the deal.
European allies of the United States, along with Russia and China, are meeting in Vienna with Iran in the most forceful bid yet to revive the nuclear agreement from which former President Donald Trump withdrew the United States. With Iran refusing to meet with the United States directly, U.S. envoy Rob Malley is at a separate hotel with European diplomats planning to shuttle messages within the city. Iran wants Biden first to lift sweeping sanctions imposed by Trump when he left the agreement in 2018 and launched a maximum pressure campaign to fight Tehran on multiple fronts. Now for COVID news, the World Health Organization said Tuesday, after fresh claims about links to blood clots, the risk-benefit balance for the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine is still largely positive. A top official from the European Medicines Agency, the EU's drug regulator, claimed there was a clear connection between the jab and clots, though the EMA itself said it was still reviewing data and no conclusions had yet been reached. The WHO said there was no evidence that the risk-benefit analysis had shifted on the jab, which is one of only 3 different COVID-19 vaccines so far to have received the green light from the UN Health Agency. Rogerio Pinto de Sa Gaspar, the WHO's Director for Regulation and Pre-Qualification, says there is no link for the moment between the vaccine and thrombotic events with thrombocytopenia.
The benefit-risk assessment for the vaccine is still largely positive.
The AstraZeneca jabs produced in South Korea and India, plus the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and that of Johnson & Johnson, are the only ones to have received the WHO authorization so far in the COVID-19 pandemic.
Globally, we have passed the 6th week in a row where we have seen a consecutive increase in cases around the world. Last week, there were 4 million new cases reported to WHO, and that is likely an underestimate of the true infections that have been occurring globally.
The latest recommendations from WHO indicate that the evidence on the use of ivermectin is not conclusive, and further studies are recommended, particularly in large-scale randomized controlled trials.
In Washington, President Joe Biden announced Tuesday that all adults across America will be eligible for COVID-19 shots within 2 weeks. Biden announced in a White House speech that he is moving up the deadline for all over 18 to be eligible for vaccines to April 19. The previous target had been May 1st. Take a look.
No more confusing rules. No more confusing restrictions. My message today is a simple one. Many states have already opened up to all adults. But beginning April 19th, every adult in every state, every adult in this country is eligible to get in line to get a COVID vaccination. I understand that people may find it confusing, that the vaccination program is saving tens of thousands of lives, but the pandemic remains dangerous. Let me explain it in a single word: time. Time. Even moving at the record speed we're moving at, we're not even halfway through vaccinating over 300 million Americans. We have to ramp up a whole-of-government approach that rallies the whole country and puts us on a war footing to truly beat this virus. And that's what we've been doing: getting enough vaccine supply, mobilizing more vaccinators, creating more places to get vaccinated, And we're now administering an average of 3 million shots per day, over 20 million shots a week.
President Biden's April 19 deadline means ending restrictions by age, health issues, or other categories for people wanting to get vaccinated. It would not necessarily mean that anyone could get a shot immediately, as distribution remains a work in progress. Visiting a vaccination site in Virginia earlier, Biden said that while the worst of the pandemic is not over yet, vaccines mean it soon could be.
So we're making incredible progress. There's a lot of good news, but there's also some bad news. New variants of the virus are spreading, and they're moving quickly. Cases are going back up. Hospitalizations are no longer declining. While deaths are still down, way down from January, they're going up in some places.
Now for today's COVID-19 numbers. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, April 6, 2021, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 132 million. The top three on the list of countries with recorded cases are the U.S. with more than 30,835,000, Brazil with more than 13,013,000, and India with more than 12,686,000. Sadly, this virus has now already claimed more than 2,866,000 lives worldwide. The countries with the three most number of COVID-19 related deaths are the U.S. with more than 556,000, Brazil with more than 332,000, and Mexico with more than 204,000. Now up next, we'll have reports from Edmonton, Alberta, and Texas. Eagle News America will continue. Stay with us.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas. A one-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Aguila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Aguila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science, and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explaining our health outdoor
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo in Atlanta. Tonight, EBC's Thomas Likeness takes a look at how the pandemic situation in Canada differs from how it's being handled here in the United States. Thomas, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you, Philip. I feel like I'm almost back in university answering one of those exam questions. Maybe you had one like that. Compare and contrast the following. We're neighbors, Canada and the United States, with the longest unprotected border in the world, although it's been closed now to non-essential traffic for about 13 months. But the pandemic has played out quite differently in the two countries. Now, I'm not going to talk about the past. I want to talk about today. You know, today America is reopening. Large numbers of Americans are getting vaccinated. It seems even with the variants, the infection is somewhat receding on the American side of the border. Now, across the 49th, that's the 49th parallel of latitude, that's our border. Across that, you're in Canada, it's quite different. Our immunization program, well, it's lackluster at best, and that's due to a shortage of vaccines. Yeah, we've got the infrastructure, we've got people ready to put those needles into people's arms. They just have nothing to put in the needles. And that's allowing the variants to advance through the population, infecting thousands more every day. So while our American neighbors are easing up on restrictions, we are tightening up on things. Tomorrow, the Premier of Ontario, Canada's largest province, Doug Ford, he's going to announce further restrictions, which could include a stay-at-home order. Things are getting worse in my province, and just this afternoon, a couple of hours ago, increased restrictions were announced. Now, Ford is clearly disappointed with what he saw in Ontario on the long weekend. You know, despite a lockdown that has shut down some businesses and restricted traffic at others, he says shopping malls were just jammed with people, and Ford says he's not pleased.
But a lot of people were going into the malls and doing their little wander around and coming out with no bags. So that tells me they're just out for an evening or a daily jaunt. You can't do that. You know, if you have an essential item that you have to buy, and, you know, I'm sorry, but going to the malls is not essential. What's essential is going to buy food, going to buy medicine out of the pharmacies, and getting your vaccines.
You know, new cases are averaging about 3,000 a day in Ontario. Hospitals are close to capacity. Ford says he has no choice tomorrow to do anything but to act on the problem.
This is moving day by day, by hour. I think we made a massive move last week by basically shutting down the entire province. That was huge, shutting down thousands and thousands of business that I hate doing. But we're going to have further restrictions moving forward very, very quickly. And again, we have to focus on where we see the problem.
Well, there are three areas that Ford is referring to in Ontario, Toronto, York, and Peel. They account for about 60% of the province's cases. So tomorrow, Ontarians find out what life will look like in that province. Now, I mentioned earlier here in Alberta, things are changing as well. Premier Jason Kenney says the province appears to be losing the war against the variants. We're taking a step back here, back to step one of the reopening strategy. Some of the measures that go into effect starting Friday, no more indoor dining in restaurants, although, as well as takeout, patio dining will be allowed so people can have a meal outdoors if the restaurant does have a patio. Other restrictions will include limiting retail capacity to 15% and entertainment services, including live music. None of that is allowed anymore. So, well, we jealously watch our American neighbors get poked in the arm with COVID vaccine. We here in Canada, well, I guess we'll just try to hide ourselves from the virus for the time being until there's sufficient vaccine to immunize us all. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas High Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Thomas. And, you know, I know it must be frustrating, you know, for people there to have to be taking these steps back, you know, with the restrictions. How are people there in your community taking this?
Well, you know, reaction, of course, runs the full spectrum, but I think the majority of people accept that if we don't take the steps now, we're going to be in a worse situation than at any other time during the pandemic. It's a case of pay me now, pay me later. The talk shows I've listened to, the letters to the editors I read, well, they've been calling for tougher measures. Doctors have become very vocal. about the need to minimize our contact with others. And some have already reacted to the Alberta restrictions, which just came out a couple of hours ago. They've told media this evening that these measures, maybe they still don't go far enough because we don't have a stay-at-home order here in Alberta. I think it's coming to Ontario. We'll find out tomorrow and certainly let you know on the program tomorrow. But, you know, it's still going to be 2 to 3 weeks before we know how effective these measures are. And, of course, we have the fringe element. The fringe element always reacts that they just don't take the pandemic seriously. It's a hoax. It's a conspiracy. The government's just trying to control this. They're never going to be convinced. But unfortunately, although they're a minority, they tend to have the loudest voices. But the reality is we cannot vaccinate enough people here now to help control this virus right now. So basic public health measures are going to be the way out of this situation. Philip?
Absolutely. And do you have any particular updates on how the vaccine rollout is going?
Well, it's been slow. It's been a snail's pace so far, but it should gain some momentum soon. Just under 2% of the Canadian population has been fully immunized. That's both shots. Another 10%, including myself, have received at least one dose. The problem here is supply. We have 4 approved vaccines in Canada. We can use Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca. Then there's the single-dose Janssen. That was the one developed by Johnson & Johnson. The first 3 have committed to shipping several million doses over the next few months. There's no word yet on when we'll see any Johnson & Johnson inoculant. The Prime Minister told us today several million doses arrived on the weekend. But we still have to keep in mind we're a long way from that herd immunity, even though we're getting a couple of million doses a week. We've got 38 million people here to vaccinate twice, so we need 72 million doses. It's going to be a while. Philip?
Absolutely, and thank you for doing the math on me for me there, on how much longer it's going to take. But definitely, you know, stay safe while you're there, Thomas. And we'll look forward to catching up with you here and hearing what you'd like to do when you don't have any chores to do tomorrow.
It's all Eagle all the time here. Look forward to that, Philip.
Right. Thanks, Thomas. April is Autism Acceptance Month, and the country's Autism Society is celebrating it with an awareness campaign. In Austin, Texas, Eagle News correspondent Jessica Isidro is with us tonight. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, thank you, and howdy from the Lone Star State. Earlier this week, the official World Autism Awareness Day, which is sanctioned by the United Nations, took place on April 2nd. And in connection to this event, the Autism Society of America, which is the nation's oldest leading grassroots autism organization, is recognizing Autism Acceptance Month this April with its Celebrate Differences campaign to help build a better awareness of the signs, symptoms, and realities of autism. Hashtag Celebrate Differences focuses on helping the public with information and resources to foster awareness of autism, acceptance, and inclusiveness in everyday life. According to a CDC report from 2020, approximately 1 in 54 children in the U.S. is diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, from data collected in 2016. Among children, 1 in 34 boys are identified with autism, while 1 in 144 girls are identified with autism. Autism is usually diagnosed in children after age 4, though it can be reliably diagnosed as early as age 2. Early intervention offers the best chance for improved health benefits. You might ask, what causes autism? There is no research that has pinpointed a specific cause of autism. However, according to research, genetics plays a role in the vast majority of cases. Children born to older parents may have a higher risk for autism. Parents who already have a child with ASD have a 2 to 18% chance of having a second child who is also affected. Over the last 20 years, extensive research has tried to find any links between childhood vaccinations and autism, and the results show that vaccines do not cause autism. Early intervention can help boost learning, communication, and social skills, as well as improve underlying brain development. The most researched and commonly used interventions for autism is applied behavior analysis, or ABA. Children who have autism have also benefited from other interventions such as speech and occupational therapy. The website helpguide.org offers the following tips to help children with autism thrive by providing them structure and safety by number 1, being consistent. Number 2, sticking to a schedule. Number 3, rewarding good behavior. Number 4, creating a home safety zone. Number 5, watching for nonverbal cues. Number 6, figuring out the motivation behind the behavior. Number 7, making time for fun. And number 8, paying attention to your child's sensory sensitivities. For more tips like these, visit helpguide.org or cdc.gov. Meanwhile, I hope you're staying safe and healthy in your part of the world. In Austin, Texas, I'm Jessica Isidro, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Jessica. Now, we were talking before the show, and, we heard that you actually work to support people with autism. What role or services do you provide?
So I work for an ABA company. I recently moved over to the administrative side of the company, but I was on the clinical side of the ABA field for 3 years as a registered behavior technician. I worked with children from, children and adolescents from as young as 18 months up to 13 years old. And ABA is a science-based therapy, and we focus on things such as social skills, communication, and teaching activities of daily living.
Now, are there some other, I know you mentioned helpguide.org, but are there other websites that people can visit to learn more?
Yeah, so education, it's very important to educate yourself when it comes to autism spectrum disorder, because, autism is a spectrum, and every person with autism is different. Some websites people can visit are autisticadvocacy.org, autism/society.org, and of course, cdc.gov.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that update tonight, Jessica. Like Thomas, we're going to look forward to catching up with you at our roundtable later to think about, what chores you like, what chores you don't like, and what you're going to do for No Chore Day or No Housework Day tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Now, still to come, we'll have updates from California. You're watching Eagle News America. We'll be right back.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
It's time to take one step further and face the impossible. Time to search the unknown and fight for the truth. Time to overcome boundaries and connect the world. It's time for DW News.
Look to NHK World Japan for news of the coronavirus outbreak across the globe. You'll find updates and insights in the specialized section of our website. Catch up with programs on your schedule through the free video on-demand service. Learn how to stay in shape and maintain your health deliciously. Ready when you are. NHK World Japan.
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Philip Toledo in Atlanta. 16 COVID-19 vaccination clinics are set to operate in Los Angeles County. Who is behind this proactive step towards normalcy? Well, Eagle News correspondent Julianne Simbulan has the answer. Julie.
Thank you, Philip. Los Angeles County is now at the less restrictive orange tier of the state's blueprint guidance to recovery from this pandemic. Many residents are slowly returning to their normal activities. To continue on the path towards normalcy and support vaccination rollouts, Blue Shield of California Promise Health Plan and LA Care Health Plan partnered with USC Pharmacy to operate COVID-19 vaccination clinics throughout Los Angeles County. These 16 clinics will administer COVID-19 Johnson & Johnson vaccines free of charge to LA residents 18 years older and above. These clinics will be held outdoors at the following locations: Los Angeles City College, Palmdale Transportation Center, Linwood Town Hall, East Los Angeles College, San Fernando Swap Meet, Purpose Church, Los Angeles Southwest College, and Los Angeles Christian Presbyterian Church. Los Angeles residents interested in this opportunity and eligible under the county guidelines can sign up for an appointment, date, and time online at www.lacare.org. The ramping of efforts to make vaccination more accessible to Angelenos coincide with the recent announcement of Los Angeles collaborating with California Governor Gov.Newsom and Blue Shield of California to receive $15 million in state funding to be distributed as grants to 41 local healthcare providers, pharmacies, and mobile vaccinators, and even community organizers partnering with the county in ongoing vaccine administration. Ranging from $250,000 to $500,000, this funding will ensure that these providers will have the resources needed to reach out to more residents and increase vaccination, especially in the most vulnerable areas of Los Angeles that have been impacted the most by COVID-19. In Lancaster, California, Julianne Simbulan, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, Julie. How long are these additional vaccination clinics available to LA residents?
So, Philip, these outdoor clinics are set to operate starting tomorrow through May 1st to provide eligible Angelenos with additional resources to obtain their COVID-19 vaccination shots. Philip?
Is LA County planning to expand the list of those eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccines?
Yes, Philip. Los Angeles public health officials are announcing that the COVID-19 vaccines will become available to all residents in the county who are at least 16 years old beginning April 15th. This is a little bit more than a week from now, so with this additional funding from the state and these collaborations among healthcare providers to make this vaccine a lot more accessible will greatly help the residents once Los Angeles County opens vaccine eligibility to everyone 16 years of age and older. Philip.
Now, Julie, I know we were talking and, I have my second shot of the vaccine tomorrow, and I understand you've already received your first dose as well. What advice might you have for your peers who might be anxious about signing up for this vaccine, once the eligibility does open to everyone at least 16 years of age? What can you tell us about your experience?
This anxiety from the COVID vaccine is absolutely valid and it's completely understandable. But, I invite my peers to really look at the data because especially being a Californian and, coming from LA County, months ago, our hospitals were absolutely filled to the point that the gift shops had to be used to accommodate the amount of patients. But today, we're now the state with the lowest positivity rate in the country. So, what does that say exactly about the vaccine? It really says, how efficient it is and how beneficial it is, for the community. And so I really urge my peers to please take it. It doesn't hurt. There's a little bit of soreness, but it goes away very quickly. And, we all want to be able to go out again and to go back to some sort of normalcy. And there's a lot more hope now than ever. So I hope people would like to be a part of that. Philip.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Julie. I know that sentiment of hope is something that many, if not all of us that have, had the chance to and chosen to participate in the vaccine, I think that's something that we all share. So definitely appreciate you sharing your perspective with us tonight. And we're also looking forward to your perspective on housework and chores. I'm sure your favorite subject when we talk about it in our roundtable later today. Thanks so much, Julie.
Thank you so much.
Vice President Kamala Harris visits the Golden State, and together with Governor Gov.Newsom, she goes to a water facility in the Bay Area in connection with the administration's infrastructure plan. In Sacramento, Bureau Chief Angel Membrere files this report.
Thank you. In California, Vice President Kamala Harris joined Governor Newsom to visit the water treatment plant in Oakland, California, which is also Kamala's hometown. The purpose of the visit was to visit sites that can contribute to access to safe drinking water. This was also in connection with President Biden's infrastructure plan, which would include billions of dollars for nationwide water projects. A major piece of this plan is to replace lead pipes and to upgrade groundwater storage. In a press conference today, Governor Newsom announced that if trends concerning COVID-19 continue to move in the right direction, California might fully reopen its economy on June 15th. Full details as to what constitutes as fully reopening have not been outlined yet, but there are two main factors for the economy safely reopening, and this includes sufficient vaccines to those who want to receive it and low hospitalization rates. As of today, more than 20 million doses of the vaccine have been administered across California, including more than 70% of those 65 years and older. Governor Newsom visited CSU Bakersfield, a mass vaccination site for COVID-19. Let's listen.
So here at CSU Bakersfield, a remarkable site in partnership with Kaiser, Adventist, and Dignity, as well as the Kern County Community Foundation. CSU Bakersfield has put together one of the finest vaccination sites that I have seen. They have the capacity of over 5,000 shots each and every day, and you can see how sophisticated the setup is in terms of, in fact, there are no lines, there's booths, there's individuals that help people navigate the system, real cultural competency, translation services, some automated, some individuals that are ready to go. This is one of, again, hundreds of sites all up and down the state of California, but this is legitimately and truly one of the most impressive sites that I've seen so far as I've traveled the rest of the state.
Bakersfield is a community that was hit hard by COVID-19, which includes a large population of agriculture workers. In Sacramento, California, Angel Membrere, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Up next, EBC Sports, an update from New Jersey, and a story about robo-plants. Plus, tonight's roundtable discussion about National No Housework Day. You don't want to miss it. Eagle News America will return shortly.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business.
Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration
to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights. Sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation,
social entrepreneurship,
and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net 25.
In good shape. Isn't that how we'd all like to be? But how can you be truly fit? And how can you stay truly healthy right up into your golden years? And truly have fun while doing it.
In good shape.
sports fans in the nation's capital, the Washington Nationals have finally opened their season after a COVID-19 outbreak. BBC Sports' EJ Gonzalez joins us tonight with the details. EJ.
Thanks, Philip. Yep, last Thursday, Major League Baseball, or the MLB, kicked off the start of the season with a handful of teams scheduled to be featured on opening day. One of the matchups included the 2019 World Series champs, Washington Nationals, and the New York Mets. But fans' excitement quickly turned to disappointment after the opening game was canceled due to a COVID outbreak. The game was supposed to be held at the nation's capital in National Stadium, but just hours before the game, the MLB learned that 3 Washington players returned positive tests for COVID-19. Now, at that time, it was not announced which players were those who received the positive test, but the Nationals general manager, Mike Rizzo, mentioned that a 4th player was also likely positive. The team took precaution, as Rizzo said, that all team personnel, all players were placed in a lockdown and mandated that they would self-quarantine while contact tracing persisted. The league eventually postponed the National Series against the New York Mets altogether out of an abundance of caution, and the makeup days for this series has yet to be announced. Nationals fans were hopeful, though, for the team to start their season against the Atlanta Braves this past Monday, but that too was also postponed. However, today the players and fans finally heard the good news that they've been waiting for, that the team would be playing their season opener against Atlanta, and the makeup day for the first postponed game would be scheduled for tomorrow. The bad news, however, the Nationals fans have to endure is that 10 of their players were put on the injury list. Patrick Corbin, John Lester, Josh Bell, and Kyle Schwarber are among those players listed. Though shorthanded, the Nationals star Juan Soto said that he was just excited to be back out on the field and out of the apartment. And the head coach, Dave Martinez, said that the roster might not be set, but the players that they have available are ready and able to help and have a good opportunity to play at a high level. Today, the game was a close contest with a tie score of 5-5 going into the final inning. And despite being undermanned, the Nationals pulled the victory over the Atlanta Braves. The final score of tonight's game, 6-5, after a walk-off winning run after a hit by Juan Soto. As mentioned, the next game in their series will be held tomorrow. In Alexandria, Virginia, EJ Gonzalez, Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Thanks, EJ. And I guess this is normally the time where we'd engage in some sort of, witty back and forth between the cities and the baseball, but I guess we'll just kind of leave that aside for now. I've heard that, the Major League Baseball will be having a full season this year, unlike, what happened last year, when the pandemic first started. After this whole, debacle, if you will, of opening day, how do you feel about that decision?
Yeah, it's really a tough one because the MLB, I think they really gave thought into whether or not to hold a full season while the world is still battling the ongoing pandemic. Last year, the league only held 60 regular season games because of COVID, as opposed to the regular 162 regular seasons. So, there's some people who are putting an asterisk on the LA Dodgers championship run because they played 102 less regular season games. But, let's focus on right now, right? I think the MLB, I think they learned a lot after last season and how to handle the scheduling, if an outbreak were to occur. And, especially now with the vaccines getting pushed out, I think that gave them some confidence to make the decision to, let's go and have that full schedule. But after what happened Monday, I think the situation was unfortunate, but I think it's safe enough to hold a full season, as long as the league continues to stick to the protocols that they have set in place.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for that, EJ. Make sure you don't go anywhere because, we have a roundtable coming up, and I know everybody wants to know what housework you do, to help out your wife, because I know that you do it, right, EJ?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a real busybody here at home.
There you go. Well, we'll catch up with you soon. Thank you so much for your report.
Thanks, Phil.
Now for tonight's technology news. New Jersey Transit today starts testing dual power locomotives by Alstom. In Union Township, Bureau Chief Carlo Valdez tells us what this means for the state. Carlo?
Thanks, Philip. Governor Murphy, along with the heads of New Jersey Transit and local officials, marked the beginning of testing of 25 new ALP dual power locomotives produced by Alstom during a ceremony held on Track A at Newark Penn Station. Governor Murphy said, "Since day one, our administration has been committed to building a better, more reliable and sustainable New Jersey Transit. This locomotive is the first of 25 that will reinvigorate the New Jersey Transit fleet with new, environmentally friendly equipment. New Jersey commuters deserve only the best, and that is what we are delivering to them today." New Jersey Department of Transportation Commissioner and New Jersey Transit Chair Diane Gutierrez-Cachet added, "These new dual-power locomotives deliver on Governor Murphy's commitment to make capital investments in New Jersey Transit, improve service reliability, and improve the environment. They produce zero emissions when running on electric power and have fewer emissions when running on diesel power than the all-diesel locomotives they are replacing. At this time, the locomotives will go through rigorous testing and dynamic qualification for about 6 weeks, and if everything goes well, they will be prepared for revenue and service." And as for coronavirus stats and numbers, New Jersey reports of 3,382 new positive PCR tests, pushing the total to 820,686. Sadly, New Jersey is reporting 53 new confirmed deaths, pushing the total to 22,132 lives lost. In Union Township, New Jersey, Carlo Valdez, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Philip.
Remote-controlled Venus flytrap robo-plants and crops that tell farmers when they are hit by disease could become a reality after scientists developed a high-tech system for communicating with vegetation. Yes, you heard me right. They are remote-controlled. Researchers in Singapore linked up plants to electrodes capable of monitoring the weak electrical pulses naturally emitted by the greenery. The technology triggers a Venus flytrap to snap its jaws shut, the push of a button on a smartphone app. What happens then? Well, one of its jaws is attached to a robotic arm, and the contraption is to pick up a piece of wire 0.5 millimeter thick and catch a small falling object. The technology is in its early stages, but researchers believe it could eventually be used to build advanced plant-based robots that can pick up a host of fragile objects which are too delicate for rigid robotic arms.
Then you can see for this kind of nature robots can be integrated with our physical, this kind of artificial world together. Then build this kind of hybrid systems. And then in one day, I need this kind of robot hands. I just carry from nature and use it, and you can show it. So this is also increasing.
There are still challenges to be overcome. Scientists can stimulate the fly's trap's jaws to slam shut, but can't yet reopen them, a process that takes 10 or more hours to happen naturally. The system can also pick up signals emitted by plants, raising the possibility that farmers will be able to detect problems with their crops at an early stage. Ken says by monitoring the plant's electrical signals, we may be able to detect possible distress signals and abnormalities. Farmers may find out when a disease is in progress even before full-blown symptoms appear on the crops. Researchers believe such technology could be particularly useful as crops face increasing threats from climate change. Scientists have long known that plants emit very weak electrical signals, but their uneven and waxy surfaces make it difficult to effectively mount sensors. The NTU researchers developed film-like soft electrodes that fit tightly to the plant's surface and can detect signals more accurately.
In this feature, I'm able to apply the hydrogel very conformably on plants with rough surface and even hairy surface. And in this way, I can get very high quality signals from plants of all types of surface textures. So these signals will reflect the health status of the plants. So we hope to study the relationship of these signals and the environmental stresses, and hopefully this can instruct agriculture practice.
This group of scientists in Singapore is the latest to conduct research communicating with plants. In 2016, a Massachusetts Institute of Technology team turned spinach leaves into sensors that can send an email alert to scientists when they detect explosive materials in groundwater. The team embedded carbon nanotubes that emit a signal when plants' roots detect nitroaromatics, compounds often found in explosives. The signal is then read by an infrared camera that sends out a message to the scientists. Now, my question is, I wonder if those Venus flytraps need watering, because April 7 tomorrow is National No Housework Day. I kind of wish that was every day, but that's not the case. So for our roundtable tonight, we have a couple of questions. First being, what is your most disliked chore? EJ, how about we start with you? What is your most disliked chore?
I was thinking about this a lot because I actually do really like doing chores, but the one I dislike the most is probably mowing the lawn. I think it's just, especially if you got a push lawn, like a push mower, it's just the worst. I'd rather do anything else, but you know that has to be done still. But yeah, that's the worst one.
Okay, I personally enjoy the outdoorsness of mowing the lawn, although the leading up to the actual mowing is probably
right.
Jessica, what about you there in Austin? What's your most disliked chore?
I hate washing the dishes. I can cook all day, every day, but if you tell me to wash the dishes, I don't want to do it.
Absolutely. And are you one of those people that has like a little bowl for every little measured spice or every ingredient that you have?
Definitely not. I try to use the least amount of dishes possible. But I have agreed with my boyfriend, if we get married, that I will cook as long as he washes the dishes.
That's good that you have the agreement and the understanding up front. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Julianne, what about you? What is your most disliked chore?
I'm definitely in agreement with Jessica. I absolutely hate washing the dishes, but I love cooking. But like, I also don't like folding the laundry. Like, I don't mind doing the laundry. I just don't like folding the laundry. I guess that's just me. I don't know if that's anybody else.
No, I can understand. That's why for most of my life, there have been baskets of clean laundry and dirty laundry, and then sometimes you can't remember, and that creates a debacle in the morning. So I definitely understand. I see everybody nodding because you know. If you know, you know.
Hey man, I like folding laundry. I think it's therapeutic.
Yeah, it's actually the only time I get to watch TV is when I'm folding the laundry and ironing.
I like folding it too. I don't like hanging it up because I'm so short.
Fair enough. Thomas, what about you? It sounds like you enjoy folding laundry. What do you dislike, or which chore do you dislike?
What I dislike, with the exception of mowing the lawn, that I can handle because I've got a self-propelled power lawnmower, so it doesn't take a lot of energy to do that. And it was sort of the bottom of the line model from Walmart. And it still runs, but I hate yard work. I'm not a gardener. Yard work to me is punishment. If you want to punish me, make me work out in the yard, picking weeds or whatever it is you do when you're gardening.
Absolutely, Thomas. I was just thinking of what my most disliked chore was, and that's picking weeds is definitely, and especially, I don't know if you have HOAs in Canada, but, the neighborhood I live in, if I don't pick my weeds, I get a passive-aggressive letter in the mail to remind me to do so. So I definitely understand. But let's turn it around, Thomas. So what is your most liked chore, if you have one?
I love to cook. I actually love to make really nice meals for my wife, and the secret to avoiding a whole lot of dishes, well, there's two things. My cooking dishes, I wash as I go. But if and I'm the type of guy that does have a bowl for every ingredient, those I just throw in the dishwasher. And that takes care of it. But good idea there, Jessica, that you have that prenup of he's got to do the dishes.
Absolutely. Let's just hop to Julianne. Is there a chore that you really enjoy doing?
There are actually no chores that I enjoy doing, but if I were to choose one, it would probably be cleaning my room because, you know, I like to find random things from my childhood and then just maybe put them on or something while I'm cleaning my room. I think it's pretty nice when I do that.
Absolutely, the reminiscing. So my follow-up question to you, Julianne, is tomorrow is no housework day or no chores day. What are you going to do, or what would you like to do in a perfect world when you could fully celebrate?
I would probably watch anime. That's what I like to do in my free time.
Absolutely. EJ, what about you? What would you like to do tomorrow if you're able to celebrate this esteemed national holiday here?
Knowing myself, I'll probably still do some sort of, chore work around the house. But, yeah, just like everybody else, I'd probably just chill, watch movies, with my wife, or maybe play some video games. I rarely get to do that nowadays, so probably some 2K on the side, yeah.
There you go. Jessica, what are you doing on your no chores day tomorrow?
I've been really into K-dramas lately, so probably just sit around and watch K-dramas or anime, depending on my mood.
I'm saying, and as Julianne's giving you the big thumbs up, Thomas, are you going to be watching K-dramas tomorrow on National No Housework?
No, actually, I've got this huge music library and this studio here, we'll put this to good work rather than just talking into it. I'm probably just going to do karaoke, unfortunately by myself, but still, I love to listen to music, all kinds of music, and I love to sing.
That sounds fun. Yeah, I'll be over. I'll be over, Thomas. That sounds like fun.
Let's hook up on Zoom. And,
right.
He'll do the chores for you while you sing. Well, good deal. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to share that with us tonight. As always, before we end our program, we want to salute our healthcare workers, first responders, and essential workers, everybody out there on the front line. We want to give you a tremendous round of applause. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate you and all that you do. Well, that's it for today's Eagle News America. We hope that wherever you are, you're staying safe and you're staying well. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Philip Toledo. We live in interesting times.